Let me make sure I've got, can everybody hear me? Excellent. That's actually the best buy I've had in the city. I really appreciate that. What a privilege and an honor to be with you this morning. One of the things that I like about this economic conference is I get really hard subjects. Like last year, Precinct 4 is awesome. It's like, saying sick 'em to a dog. This year, I have to speak to you about how Precinct 4 rocks. And so gee, just give me just toss it up there as softly as you possibly can so that we can go on home. What a delight to be with you and to start your morning off with. You know, Precinct 4 really does rock. And as I was beginning to think about the different ways that we can rock, many of you know that I went to a small little obscure private college down off of South Main in Houston. And there they drilled us with a number of things. And I see my colleague Judge Emmett, who also went to that little small school there inside the hedges. We have his representative that's here today. Can we have a round of applause for Judge Emmett and his office? If you say something to a Rice guy like, you know, something rocks, we have to break it down a little bit more into, you know, what kind of rocks are there? There's the igneous rocks, there are the metamorphic rocks, and then there is the sedimentary rocks. Yeah, it's just where we go. Our brain happens to go that way. And it really fits with regard to what I want to share with you today about what's going on in our precinct, because it's an awesome time. Igneous rocks, for those of you who know, this is obsidian, which is known as volcanic glass, is rock that's born from the explosion, because there's just so much going on within the crust of the earth, it just has to splurt on out there. And we, at this time, are actually living in that kind of a place. Our growth is extraordinary. We're going to have a brilliant statistician here in a bit to give you some of the details. But to put it down to where the brass tacks are, they say that right now about 1,000 people per day, every day, are moving into Texas. That number is skewed to make it where it's easy to use for guys like me. Of that 1,000, 200 per day are coming into Harris County, and of that 200 that are coming per day into Harris County, 40% are coming into our part of Precinct 4. 40% of the growth of Harris County, which is the rockinest county in the rockinest state, in the rockinest country, is right here in your backyard, nay, our front yard. And so this is an exciting time with this explosion to be occurring. And to kind of keep up with that, my very own Rocky Roads. Pamela Rocky, would you stand for just a second? This is the director of our CIP here. And she's the brains behind most of what we do. She put together these slides for me. And so all I can do is just show them and brag about how good I'm doing, but she did all the work. But Pamela Rocky, and by the way, her name isn't spelled like rock, it's R-O-C-C-H-I, the good Italian. Put together these slides, and things are occurring right here. 249. When I first was appointed by Judge Emmett to serve you as the commissioner of Precinct 4 2.5 years ago, 249 had been taken off the table, and they said that expansion at the top side would never occur. Period. Done. They even pulled it off of the normal road log slips. And yet there are these persistent people in Tomball and up and down 249 who kept saying, we need this commissioner. Can you figure out a way of making this happen? And so we began to reanalyze it, and sure enough, June 2011, we put this and several other projects on our CIP project. Last September, we broke ground, and as you go north of here, you will actually see the construction of this roadway that never was going to occur in my lifetime. And I'm young, that was going to be a long time. The estimated construction cost of this project is $95 million, and this is a Harris County project from the Harris County Toll Road Association. Because TxDOT has been so strapped, we partnered with them in a number of different projects to where we took over this piece of the puzzle because we needed it locally. In In fact, so much so that Harris County actually purchased from the state of Texas the right-of-way to build the state of Texas Highway 249 over this region in that partnership. In our continued partnership, you'll note that 249, it doesn't do you any good if you get on it, if when you come down the beltway, you get stymied down there. Any of y'all notice that? That's a very expensive, we call those direct connects. For those of you who aren't with Jones and Carter or one of the other engineering groups, the direct connect just basically means as you're going down, you want to keep on going. And I have to get off of the road, pull up, go through a stop sign, get onto another road, and then get back on again. We direct connect. It was expensive because if you look, you'll see all those power lines that were in that direction that you have to coordinate your timing for the building of your road. There's only 2 months out of the year that we can do some of the rerouting of all of that work. I want to compliment our local CenterPoint Energy folks because they have actually cooperated with the county as we are trying to construct this, and they live and work in tandem with us so that we can complete the project faster. Instead of us having to take it to that certain point where we have to stop, then wait for them to go through their process and then find the 2-month window, and then for us to complete the project. By working together, we were able to move this project along, and we anticipate that our construction is going to begin this May, and it should be done before too terribly long in the future. So we're really excited about that. Who here has not heard about the Grand Parkway and the wonderful and exciting things that are going on there? The Grand Parkway is fully a state of Texas project. It is not a Harris County project, although we participate with them with regard to service roads and other projects to try to help them along the way, and to move them in within our division of labor. That is a completely TxDOT project. 249, Harris County project. We are utilizing a new tool for this TxDOT project that is new to construction in our region. It's called a design build. Previously, if you had a TxDOT project, a state of Texas road, it would take you a long time because you'd have to go through the design phase and then the study of the design phase. And then and Mr. Maxwell used to be with those guys, and he could tell us about all the things you have to check, and then you have to check the checkers, and then you have to check the checkers that check the checkers to make sure that it's done all right. With design build, we basically put with one group of folks the responsibility of designing it and building it. What a title and what a concept. And because of that, we're going to end up being able to complete this project by the end of next year, which for the state of Texas is like blazing speed. This is igneous rocks spurting out of the earth in terms of the speed with which we will be able to have this project, and its impact will be instantaneous across our zone. Because right now, if you want to come from our side of Harris County to go to the far side of Harris County, you have to go all the way into the Beltway, which is beautiful and nice, and then come all the way back out again. No more of those big dips through the big traffic. We can just zip straight across the top, and it will really help our region. Now, what about 290? I've lived off of 290 for the last 12, 14 years. They tell me that I'm wrong when I say that it is the worst highway in Texas. It's only like one of the top 3 worst highways in Texas. But that's about to change. And this is an interesting project too with regard to how first with 249, Harris County is taking care of that. 99, the Grand Parkway, is a TxDOT project. 290 is a pure partnership because we wanted to have this project that would take years and years into the future to occur. Harris County is putting $400 million into the TxDOT project. And so we're being able to cover part of those costs so that we can get the road that we need now. Instead of having to wait the 15 to 20 years for it to be done solely at the state of Texas expense. In other words, your local government has said waiting is not the appropriate option. Partnerships are the option. Let's get this project done because our constituents need it. Its scheduled completion is going to be 2017. There are a number of things that still need to be done within the 290 that I'll have to cut the wrong one up there. I lost my 290. There it is. 290. There are a few things that we need to do to get it all done and be squared away, but it is a wonderful and marvelous project. Hardy Toll Road. Hardy Toll Road has now gotten to the place where sometimes when you sit on the Hardy Toll Road, you're thinking, gee, I could wait this long on 45. Your county commissioner has heard you. And so, what we are in the process of doing are two things. One is on the bottom end, we're going to expand that all the way down to I-10 to make it to where you get further through on the bottom. It's going to take us a little while to get that done, but that's in the process. But almost immediately, you're going to see us expanding the region above LA where it's 2 lanes, and we're going to bring that to 3 lanes. We need that, one, because of the current traffic. We also need that because of the traffic that at the end of this month, as ExxonMobil starts moving their 500 people in per weekend, there's going to be a lot more folks in those regions. So we need to be able to assist them in being able to get in and out of that zone. And so our Hardy Toll Road, again, is going to be an all Harris County project to go within the overall scheme of where we're finding partners and working together with others. Well, let me talk about metamorphic rock. With the igneous rock and Hamlin explosion and all those big projects, there's still a lot of pressure on our system, which means getting back and forth in our neighborhoods is getting more and more difficult. And so within that regard, that becomes the responsibility of My Rocky Roads, and I serve you in these pressure zones. Currently under construction, we have over $26 million of roads that we are working on. We've got a class signal system, we've got Uber Road, Holbrook Road, Spring Studer, AD&C, we've got some other issues that are going on right now in that zone. I'd like to talk to you about one of these things that's new and innovative, and that's this class type of lighting. Roadways now are such to where you just can't expand them anymore. And yet in the morning you have heavy traffic, and in the evening you have heavy traffic. Well, we've learned with the reversible lanes on some of our freeways that, gee, let's use the same concrete for those periods of times when our traffic is peak. And so we're going to try a noble experiment to see if it works. And if it works, it will be wonderful in the system. We start off small with 2 projects. We have one that we're doing at Perkindale and Louetta Road. The other one's going to be at Eldridge Parkway in West Little York. And in essence, it is the changeable lane assignment signal system class. Changeable. We're going to have multiple lanes making the left-hand turn at the same time in the peak hours. Because we've not had this before, when we begin it, we will have old-fashioned police officers standing there with the whistles, directing people and pointing at the sign so that we can retrain ourselves so that we can do it appropriately and properly. But if this works, which all of the science seems to think that it will, not only will we be able to vastly improve our mobility in the region, we can save ourselves money and we can jump up and down like Mattress Mac. And so this is an exciting process for us, not just with regard to how it will improve our mobility, but again, of how we can export this and save ourselves dollars. Traffic signals, North Eldridge, West Little York. We have projects that are under study and design. This is our capital improvements projects. We've got 13 of those going on right now. Aldine Westwood, Roslyn Road, Grant Road, Hallsworth, Husman-Corville 6. We talked to Tomball, and Tomball asked us, instead of doing our Husman-Corville construction as we had planned it, and I see Bruce back over there, to where we go with section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had this novel concept of let's visit with those other entities that we serve, and Tomball said, you know, it would do us more good if you flip that. Instead of doing 2, go ahead and do 6 next. Because it'll be up there where Baker Hughes is coming in and all that traffic, and you can actually improve the situation. And so another novel concept, governments talking to each other and cooperating. So we've moved it. If you wonder why we do 1 and then 6, it's because Tomball said do 6 next, and it made sense. And we will continue as we grow in that region to match those construction projects as to where they are most needed to make the biggest sense. Louetta Road, from Buffalo Trail to Telge, Imperial Woods to Cypress Ridge, Mossy Oaks. We have to do Mossy Oaks so you can get in and out on the east and west, out close to the ExxonMobil campus, Springwoods Villages, that's coming in there. Riley Fuzzle, Spring Cypress, I-45, Treshwick A and B. These are projects all that will be going into our region that we are designing and should go out for bid in the not too terribly wrong future. Traffic signalization helps. Now, every now and then, the problem with growth is that there are pains. And sometimes with that growth, we have folks that say, you know, I loved my little neighborhood. I moved out here, I bought my house, I was the last house on the lane, and I looked out my back window, and the cattle were grazing. The birds were singing. I could see the rabbits running across the fields. And then, Commissioner, you allowed all these people after I moved out here behind the guy in front of me. You allowed the next guy to move in behind me, and now all these other folks are here, and they're coming in front of my yard at this beautiful country place I used to live that's now in the middle of the city. And I feel their pain. I really do, because the house that I used to live in, I would see deer running across in front of me, right off of Imperial Valley. Last time I drove down Imperial Valley, no deer, no cows. That was over where our my old office and your office was, Congressman Brady. The world has changed, because when we moved out here so that we could be in the country and afflicted ourselves upon the folks that were already here, folks then came in behind us. And so we're in this process, and there's that change and that angst. And so we need to be as sensitive to those who came after us as we are to those who came here before us in that process. And we try to do that best balance. In addition to the roads that we're doing on a CIP level, we have two departments that I need to let you know about. One of them is our regular road and bridge guys. Now, the head of my road and bridge, I call him Bruce. He is, in fact, in charge of bargaining. He's the guy that gets out there when you call our community assistance department to fix your pothole. He's the guy that's out there that does the overlay of the regular roads with that new technology, where I don't know if y'all have seen those machines, where we actually now put the machine out, and the front end does the blowers and melts the asphalt in place. Then we grind it up on the road, mix it up, add just a little extra asphalt, and lay it down on the back side, and then people are driving on it again in 30 minutes. Instead of the old traditional route to where we mill it all up, we keep it blocked off for weeks at a time, then we come back in afterwards. And although it's a little bit more expensive, it is very, very effective on the overall economy when you consider the hauling away of material, the purchase of new material, and the time of the constituents of waiting. And so you'll see us doing more and more of that kind of hot-in-place replacement of our roads. Rooster does that and fixes your potholes. And CAG. Rooster is not CAG. CAG stands for the Community Assistance Division. This is their number. Write it down, 281-353-8424. If I could get you all to raise your hands for just a moment. You're all now deputized. If you see a pothole, call that number. If you see that dead thing on the road that should not be there, call that number. If there is an obstruction or a problem, call this number. We have a unique feature that I wish I could take the credit for, but it's not mine. And Congressman, you can take this back to Washington. If somebody calls that number, the person who answers the phone, it's their job to find out who it is that you are to talk to. Have y'all ever experienced that thing when you've called your friendly government, you told the whole story, then they transfer you to someone else? And then you told your whole story all over again, and they transferred you to a third person. By about the fifth time you've told your story, you're yelling, and they're wanting to know, why do you even talk to me? CAG, it's their job to take your call and to find out who it is that you're to talk to. It may be that that is an issue for our rooster to go out there and take care of it. He'll do a very good job of getting out there. It may be that the issue is for us to go over to permitting, or to the county attorney's office, or to refer to the city of Tomball, or to I don't know how many places we refer your calls to, but to figure out where it is that we can do to give you the service that you need. And that's a very, very important. If you forget the number, just go to the website and send us an email. But it is our job to serve you, whether you're in unincorporated Harris County or if you are in the part of Precinct 4 that is within a city. It's our job to find out how we can serve you and help you figure out what it is that service need is. And they're the ones that will make sure that we get the dispatch out there for whatever it is to clean it up. You've been deputized. And this is important. A year and a half ago or so, I was at an event and a lady was furious with me. Absolutely furious with me. And it took me a while to get her to the place to where she quit spitting those nails at me so I could find out what the story was. And what it was is that there had been a problem on her street for 2 weeks. Well, ma'am, where do you live? I didn't know that street. But ultimately, it was at the end of the cul-de-sac at the back of a fairly obscure neighborhood. And she wanted to know why I had not seen and taken care of that problem in her street. Did you call anyone, ma'am? No, I just assumed you would drive down it. There are 1.2 million of you and 1 of me. Now, Pamela may drive down every one of those streets every week, but I don't. You've been deputized. We can't serve you if we don't know where we need to be served. So as deputies, don't just pass by that little obstacle. Call it in. If we end up with 2 calls, you know, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But don't assume that someone else has called in that problem. You've been deputized. You're now official members of Precinct 4. Call it in so we can take care of it. Because at the end of the day, we're about service and about excellence. And we can only be excellent with your help. All right. Well, now let's talk about sedimentary rocks. You know, those are the ones that are kind of more relaxed. They just kind of settled in. This is actually part of the Spring Creek Greenway, which many of us are working with. Ray is participating with us on some of the aspects of that. Barbara, you've been out there. Spring Creek Greenway is an amazing thing. It's the longest contiguous greenway. On the Open Trails Day, you'll actually be able to get on an ADA compliant trial in our Dennis Johnston Park and ride almost 14 miles on a bicycle or in a wheelchair or on foot all the way down to Jones Park. Covered ADA compliant trail in the longest contiguous greenway in the nation. You've heard about folks talking about it. You've heard about folks talking about Seattle being green, and my mother tells me about that because she was about 3 months pregnant with me from Texas when Daddy was working in the space program up in Seattle, and so he hauled her up there, and she actually gave birth to me in Seattle, and then 6 months later moved back to Texas. She talked about it being green up there on those days when it quit raining, which was just 3 or 4 out of the year. But we have the green place in the nation. I think it's some 39 miles of contiguous green space, and we are continuing to work with flood control and other departments so that your taxpayer dollar gets 3 hits. $1 goes to the purchase in our park system of the green space itself so that you can have a recreational use. It is also what we have now learned, the way that Mother Nature did flood control is better than the way that we used to do flood control. We used to do flood control by building concrete chutes and moving the water quickly downstream so that it dumps on our neighbor. And then when their property is flooded, it backs at the chute and then floods us out. The way that we now do it is those little natural rivulets and the zones that go through fill up, hold the water. The trees and the bushes filter it so it all drops down. And so therefore, when we preserve this wild green space, we actually are doing the best kind of flood control that we can do for the environment and for ourselves. So that $1 now goes to 2 places. Third, as we are building these roads and highways, instead of the mitigation that we now have to spend with our money, to where we're sending our money up to Huntsville and to other places when you build a road because you have to repair the environment from when you do a damage. And we are now sending that money almost out of state, far, far away, because of the projects that we're doing and cooperating with each other. We now have a mitigation bank in Harris County so that our dollars that go spent to do the repair to the environment for when we're building those necessary roads and highways will actually go back into our beautiful parks and our beautiful environment where we live. So your $1 now does 3 benefits, and it helps refund part of the system. How exciting, how good we can sit back in our sedimentary mode here and enjoy and relax. And in fact, Spring Creek Greenway in our sections is one where we've got it divided up into 7 sections, 8 sections. And we are making great progress in completing them, as I mentioned earlier, and in our Cypress Creek zone, which we were right over here partnering. We've now divided it up into sections, and of these 7 sections, 2 of them are already completed, and we are getting to where we are substantially complete with 2 more. So 4/7 of that trail system, and we encourage you all to get with Barbara Thomason. And if Jim Robertson is here, he's usually at these things. He's Mr. Cypress Creek. We can help you participate in trying to complete this trail system, which will be part of a legacy for generations to come. Your parks and your arts into a community, whether it's lawns and architecture or at home. Jones and Carter over here is a sponsor of our Shakespeare in the Park. Tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday matinee and Saturday night of next week, we're going to have community theater. Shakespeare. 3.5 hours have been reduced to 1.5 hours. And we have a narrator in the beginning who you might know who explains it in modern English as to what's going on. So you know when they're spitting those words at each other, you know they're fighting, you actually know what they're fighting about. It is the comedy of errors. It is a great slapstick fun. Come on out and enjoy it. But what we're trying to do is to make our community a bigger, better place, a broader place. So there are visions for our children that are out. We have 3 sets of actors where it is a parent and a child that are actually performing in this play. Quintessential community. We're growing. We are growing. And we have what I refer to as acres of diamonds right here. My grandfather used to talk about the story of the man, I may have shared this last year, who sold all he had. He was a wealthy, wealthy man, lived in Arkansas. He sold all he had because he wanted to go find diamonds. He traveled the world, spent all of his fortune searching for diamonds. And when he became poor, he came on back to Arkansas and began working on the ranch that he used to own as a servant in the kitchen. And when he was cleaning the chickens, he found an odd thing in the gizzard of the chickens. Diamonds. The property that he used to own became the Hope Diamond Mine of Arkansas, one of the largest diamond mines in all the world. You know, we travel to other places sometimes, and we don't always think of what we have. But the rest of the world has got it right. We're going to hear the statistics in a bit. People are moving here because we are a great place to live. We have acres of diamonds in our own midst. You want to see bald eagles? You don't have to go to Alaska. We have them on the Spring Creek Greenway. And about this time of the year, with the spawning of the white bass, you'll see them even right now. You want to see beavers and otters and deer? You have them right here. You want to see economic growth? You have it right here. Precinct 4 rocks. We are acres and acres of diamonds. What a privilege it is to be your servant in this exciting time. Thank you.